everybody, and welcome back to the Late Night Yap, where we read all of those crazy Reddit stories so that you don't have to read them yourself. And we have a new friend today. I don't have a name for this ghosty yet, but if you guys want to help me name him, or her, I guess he doesn't really need to have a gender, but whoever this ghost is going to be, if you guys want to give him a name, please leave a name in the comments so that way we can name our podcast Ghosty Man. And also got this cute little ghosty blanket from Target today to match her ghosty boy. So that's super cool. And it also matches kind of our little theme for the podcast as well because it's purple. We got pink and lots of, kind of purpley stuff in the back. So, but yeah, this is my new guy here. He's really awesome. It was $5 in the bullseye section of Target, if you were wondering where I got it from. That's usually where I get all of my stuff from, and he's got this cute little hat. He's our sweet buddy. He's gonna be with us. So, but I don't want to hold him the whole podcast, so I'm just gonna toss him over there real quick. Now, I did get a DM about a comment that I got on a video about answering the sister-in-law honestly. Basically, what happened in the story was the sister-in-law kept asking really like condescending questions. Like, basically, if somebody said no to her, she would be as annoying as possible until you basically said yes or gave in to whatever demand that she was so that she could get her way basically. So she would just be like, so if you said, "Oh, I can't come over this weekend," she'd be like, "Well, why? What's more important than coming over here? You can come over here and watch, my kid for me. Like, you don't have anything better to do." Those kinds of things. So, and I guess they had commented on the video, and then so I guess the DM, now they sent me the DM kind of asking what my opinion would be on that. So I found the video and I also found the comment that they were talking about. And so we're going to go ahead and read it and then we're going to read the replies. The commenter said, "I agree with OP up until she said no about watching her nephew. They need some time away from their kid. LOL. I'm a mom. I know the feeling. Also, her nephew may not always be around, and the auntie-nephew bond is different than with the parent. I would give anything to have that bond back. My nephew had passed away at 14. She could really take advantage of the time that she can with him." Now, the reply that she got was, "She's not a babysitter. If they need someone to watch the kid, hire a babysitter." Another comment said, "You decided to have the kid, you deal with it." Another comment says, "The issue is that it's her decision and she said no. She is an adult and is perfectly capable of evaluating and prioritizing what she wants out of life. Your lack of respect for boundaries is astounding. It wouldn't hurt the mother to spend a weekend with her own son. She can find a willing babysitter." Or, yeah, until she can find a willing. So, okay, so I kind of see where we're coming from. So, I mean, yeah, family is family, and I get wanting when they're little or a certain age, that's the only time that you get with them. However, you kind of can't force somebody to be a babysitter, but I don't feel that all of the comments attacking the person was called for necessarily, because I mean, they have a point, but at the same time, I guess because OP in the video is already just so annoyed with the fact that this person tries to ask them really annoying questions in order to make them do something they don't want to do. Like, if somebody tells you no, no is a complete sentence, no is a full answer. You shouldn't have to basically guilt somebody into saying yes. So I feel like it could go, I feel like it could go either way. You do want to spend time with your nephew as much as you can. And, when somebody's lost somebody and they can no longer do those things, sometimes the advice of just don't regret not spending the time that you could have while you can, because you never know what can happen. And that's 100% understandable and agreeable on that part. I think there's always multiple different perspectives to look at something, that there isn't just one way to look at something. And even because there is a lot of negativity and there is a lot of, hate that can go around. And I feel like sometimes when you give a positive solution to maybe a stressful situation or a situation that you weren't expecting to be super stressful, I could understand maybe saying, like, hey, just maybe why don't you just babysit and enjoy the time with the child while you can, even if, the mother is a complete crazy person that you don't like being around. Because you never know, you might like spending time with that kid or whatever it is. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I completely, I think that it is good to have different perspectives on things. It may not be because, sometimes the way that I view things, or sometimes when I say things too, like, it may not be the most popular answer. It may not be an answer that everybody wants to hear. It may not be something everybody agrees with, and it's okay. It's okay to have different opinions. That's what the comment section is for. That's what, coming together as a community is for, is to be able to give those opinions, right or wrong, or maybe not so popular, or maybe popular, who knows. But at the end of the day, mostly we're just here to be a community together, and we don't have to be, like, mad at each other, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't that serious, okay? It ain't that serious. But no, I think that was a really good perspective and a very positive way to look at that story, instead of it just being like, ugh, well, that lady's a complete drag. Like, I don't blame you. Instead of being like that, we were being positive and being uplifting. And I feel like sometimes we could use that, definitely, 100%. So I'm really glad that person, sent me a comment and had a really great perspective on how to look at something in a very positive way. So yeah. Also, I did make a video for celebrating our 10,000 followers on Instagram for the podcast, and I will be posting it with this video, our episode, tomorrow, basically Tuesday, because I'm recording it a little bit late. I didn't record yesterday like I should have, but it's okay because I can get it edited. It's fine. It doesn't take too long, so I will be kind of not rushing it, but we'll get it done. It'll be fine. Okay, it'll be fine. Sometimes that's just how it is. But we get in there. I've been a little bit out of schedule with the whole moving thing. It threw off my whole routine, so I've kind of had to get back into a new routine and a new way of doing things now, because I can actually get my kid in bed a lot earlier, so it's just a complete change of, like, the whole dynamic here. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. It's slow, we're getting there. I was not honestly expecting to get any attention or even as many followers as I have, regardless if it was 400 or 6, it doesn't matter how many followers that I never expected any of my stories to get like a million views. I mean, I started posting 3 months ago. The first story I posted was on May 26th. That was basically, it's about like 3 months and a week, and that is a lot of attention for somebody who just started and is still trying to figure things out, which honestly I'm so grateful, because everybody's been so cool and like so like working with me, like, just enjoying it regardless of not really knowing what I'm doing, but still trying to figure it out, but still trying to do a good job, you know? And that's honestly, that's the fun part about it. We're making art, we're doing, having fun, we're communicating, we're having a community, we got all kinds of things going, and I think it's so great. And yeah, so I really just wanted to say thank you, because it's honestly just, it really is a dream come true. So, and then last but not least, I did kind of go over this on my Instagram story. I did go through all the updates for all of the stories that I've read so far, there isn't any updates, but I know the most popular one that we're looking for an update on is the mother-in-law destroying the Millennium Falcon, which I am following the story. I also know the person's Reddit username, so if I need to go back and look for it, I can. But so far, we haven't gotten any, updates on any of the very popular stories that I have that a lot of people were wanting updates for. But like I said, I am following them. So if anything does come up, anything does happen, I will know about it and I will definitely read it and we will definitely go through it. But we also got well, actually, kind of our first story, one that I didn't post because I did post one of my own stories on there, which I will read. I'm gonna read it for the podcast, but I'll probably do it as like a reel or like a short. But we did get our first story to our subreddit, so that was super awesome. And so we are gonna read that one too. And I'm not gonna read it in this episode, but it's gonna be posted as a reel. This episode's theme is going to be Am I the Asshole stories. So that's going to be our whole theme for tonight. But I'm going to read that story and post it as a reel. And if you guys have your own, story that you want me to read or want me to have an opinion on or just whatever it is, if you need advice on something, you can definitely submit it to our subreddit, which I do link the subreddit into every video in the description that is down below. So if you ever like want to skip the intros or if you want to skip straight to like the first story, if there's a story that you wanted, you can just go straight through all of them. I timestamp each story, the ending, the beginning, the intros, the outros on all the videos. So that way you guys don't have to either sit through this or you can choose whether you want to listen to whatever you want to listen to or not. That was all that we had to share today, and so we're going to go ahead and get into our Reddit stories. So our first story is, Am I the asshole for refusing to fix my sister and brother-in-law's microwave? While visiting my sister, I googled the steps on how to mute their microwave beeping and it won't change back. As far as I know, my sister has a happy marriage with her husband, Roger. I think he's generally a good guy and a great father, but he does this thing where he puts something in the microwave and will not come to get it when it's ready, so it just beeps and beeps and beeps until someone brings it to him. It's so loud, and due to their open floor plan acoustics, you can hear it no matter where you are in the house. If I'm over, I'll just press the end button or open the door to make it stop, but each and every time, Roger will turn it on again until anyone, brings whatever it is to him. He knows the noise of the beeping drives everyone bonkers, and he just keeps doing it to get waited on. He actually thinks it's funny that the whole house gets mad at him about it. Last week, I finally had enough and I got it to stop making any noise whatsoever, and he got pretty upset once he figured out that there was no noise, which means no waitress service. My sister tried being fake mad at me for his sake at first, but ended up asking me not to change it back after a few days of blessed microwave silence. Roger says I'm interfering in their marriage and I'm tampering with his property. Even though it's causing friction between them, my sister doesn't want me to change it back, and when he threatened to get a new microwave, she told him that she would do the same thing to the next one. I told him that Google is his friend too and he can change it back himself if he wants. He's insisting I change it back, but I'm not budging. Am I the asshole here? Personally, I'm gonna say not the asshole, just petty as fuck. Actually, that is just super petty, but because everybody is just like, nah, like, we're not changing the microwave back, which Roger just gonna have to get over it, bro. You just gonna have to get over it. So the first comment here says, not the asshole. I don't care about the rest of the story. People who stop appliances from beeping deserve a Laurel and Hardy handshake, which I do agree. I literally hate my microwave because, like I said, we just moved. Okay, so this is a new microwave to me. I've only been using it for what, like a couple weeks now. Every single time I use this microwave and it finishes, it goes, beep, beep, beep. And then, like, not even 3 seconds later, if you don't pull it out immediately, it goes beep, beep, beep. And then it'll keep doing it every like super close together until you take it out. So it's like reminding you like, "Hello, I'm in here. Hello, bitch. Like, I'm here. Pull me out." And it's like You know what? I need to Google how to turn the beeping off on my microwave because it pisses me off. So I don't blame you, guy. All right, on to our next story. Am I the asshole for boarding the plane and leaving without my wife? Sorry ahead of time for the length of this one, but there's a lot of key details I think are important. I know how this sounds, but hear me out. This is also not my usual account, but I don't want to risk my wife seeing this as it is currently a sensitive subject. My wife, female 43, and I, male 47, have a daughter, 21 female, who goes to college out of state. We will call my wife Meg and my sister Jess. Jess is in her junior year of college. Over the summer, she was employed by her university and able to stay in the dorms. After summer, she was moving out of the dorms and in her own apartment off campus. Meg and I live in the PNW. Jess goes to school on the East Coast. We usually go visit Jess a couple of times throughout the semester, typically parents' weekend and move out day. She also comes home during the holidays. Let me start by saying that traveling with my wife is not a great experience. I'm a very type A. I like to have everything organized, make sure that we get where we need to be early, especially when traveling. My wife, the complete opposite. Very go with the flow, and we will get there when we get there. I do my best to meet in the middle, but not when traveling by plane. Last year, during our parents' weekend, Meg and I were going to fly over to see Jess. Our flight was at 10 a.m. Our airport isn't huge, but it's not a tiny one either. I told my wife that we needed to be at the airport 90 minutes early, and we live about 30 minutes from the airport. This being said, I wanted to leave at the very latest by 8, since we would also need to park and walk a little bit. Well, I mean, okay. I could see that. If there's a lot of morning traffic in your area, it would definitely be good to leave, a little early so that you have time to kind of do things. Because let's say that you don't eat breakfast, you can get something at the airport while you wait for your plane. So I feel like that's not too bad of a accommodation. When we used to go, because, okay, so I live in Florida and I'm in Jacksonville, so we're about 3.5 hours or so, depending on traffic from Orlando. And when we would go to Disney, we would want to get up because my dad, we had those year passes, like the Florida resident yearly passes. So what we would do is we would get up, like if we wanted to go on a weekend, we would just go for the day. You know what I mean? Because it's not that far. You know what I'm saying? So we would get up like super early. We'd probably get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, get on the road, get to the Disney like just after the gates had probably been opened, and then we'll stay the whole day at the park. And then sometimes we'll typically leave before like all their fireworks and stuff because there is a lot of traffic at that time when everybody is trying to leave the park. So we'd leave early so that way we could get on the road and just go home and then get back at like, 12 o'clock at night. So, I mean, I could understand like wanting to maybe like not get caught in traffic and stuff because it can make you run late. I mean, I've been caught in traffic for work and ran late. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, like I get it. I get it. I, of course, got up at 6, make sure everything was ready and accounted for. My wife does not like to get up early, which, honey, I don't either. But if we got important stuff to do, I will get up early. It took me attempting to wake her 5 times before she eventually got up at 7:40, then wanted to make coffee, shower, eat a bowl of cereal. Let's just say that we didn't leave the house until 9. Ended up being busier at the airport than normally, likely due to many colleges having parents' weekend, and it took so long to get through security that we missed our flight. Yeah, okay, see that would kind of probably upset me a little bit. Especially since you're already kind of in a stressful situation. Anything crowded or like overly too many people gives it, I get like very overwhelmed and I get like very high anxiety, so it could cause me to be more upset than normal or just more like because I get very overstimulated. So I can kind of see where this guy is like overstimulated, right? Rightly so, the airline refused to refund the ticket. Yeah. We were unable to get new tickets, but we were able to get new tickets, but not until the next day, and we missed Friday afternoon and Saturday morning with our daughter. Jess was disappointed to say the least, which, yeah, I mean, yeah, she missed the flight. Now, if you are, and then this is the thing too, if you're around somebody, and this is like not to people that are normally late all the time, but if you're one of those people that's late all of the time, just I want you to understand that it's not fair to other people that are around you. Because if you're constantly that one person that's late and makes everyone miss everything, or you have to you know what I mean? Like, I can understand, like, we literally, there's certain family members of mine that we actually tell them that a party will start 2 hours before it actually is supposed to start, and they will make it on time. So it's almost like they're purposely wanting to be late. I don't know. But we do that to them sometimes, and then they get there and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late." And then we're like, "Nope, you're here on time because the party actually starts now. We lied." So now they never know whether the party actually starts that time or if it's going to start 2 hours. They don't know. They don't know what time it's going to start. But anyways, fast forward to now, we're flying down for a long weekend to help her move. We take one flight from our town to a bigger town nearby and then fly there to my daughter's college town. Again, it was a long morning of me pushing my wife, getting her to move along. Due to the last airport mishap, I wanted to make sure I told her we needed to leave extra early as to not miss the flight again. We got there on time with a bit of time to spare, and my wife was annoyed. Kept going on about how now we just have to sit and wait for 45 minutes for them to start boarding. Okay, and yo, you act like we ain't got no freaking like iPads and cell phones and stuff. Honestly, take yourself to Starbucks, which is exactly what I would do, and I have one right there. I'm not going to show it here because I don't want to show logos in the video, but yeah, and go sit down and have a freaking croissant and a dang Starbucks and shut up. We took our first flight and landed in the connecting city at a much larger airport. We only had about an hour layover. We got off the plane at 9:15 and our next plane started boarding at 9:40. We had to take multiple rails to get to and from where we landed to our terminal. We got to our terminal and it had about 15 minutes until our plane was set to board. My wife tells me she wants to get coffee. There was a little market next to the terminal that sold food and hot coffee. I asked if she wanted me to grab it for her. No, I want Starbucks, she said. Well, Starbucks is a rail ride away and a little bit of a walk. I told her we couldn't do that. We didn't have enough time, and she stated we had enough time and if I wouldn't go with her, then she would go by herself. I tried to discourage her, but she was determined. She walked away at a brisk pace for her and said that she would be back in time. 15 minutes went by and she was nowhere to be seen. Then they started calling boarding groups. I called my wife and hoping she was nearby, but she didn't answer. They called a few groups, then called ours. In a panic, I called my wife again 3 times. Finally, on the last call, she answered and said she was on her way. It was a long line and she had to wait a bit. I told her they were almost done with boarding and she needs to hurry up. I waited by the gate, but the attendant said they would need to shut the gate in 2 minutes. Waited and waited, but she didn't show up. The attendant asked if I wanted to board, otherwise, she was closing the gate. I tried to plead with her to wait a couple of minutes, but she insisted that she couldn't, so I boarded the plane. A few minutes later, my wife calls me and says the attendant won't let her on, and they had already removed the boarding ramp at that point. She told me I needed to tell them to let me off the plane to be with her, and I said no. It's not fair to do this again to Jess. I said I told you we didn't have enough time and you decided to go anyways. I told her to go purchase a new ticket for the next flight and that I would see her when she arrives. She got to Jess's school and seemed unbothered by the whole situation. Didn't even really talk about it. I thought maybe she realized it was her fault and just wanted to drop it. Boy, was I wrong. We are home now, and she hasn't talked to me since the trip over a week ago and insisting that I am an asshole. So, am I the asshole? Now, before I get into any of the top and relevant comments here, I'm just going to go ahead and say that, yeah, you're a little bit of an asshole, but your wife is also kind of an asshole. So, my consensus is that everybody here is an asshole. And the reason why I say that is because, like, maybe you shouldn't have left her, but at the same time, your wife kind of seemed like she was doing that shit on purpose. Probably because she knew what was annoying you. And honestly, I don't know why people do that. Like, I don't want to accuse anybody necessarily, but sometimes it really does seem like certain partners will purposely do things that they know annoy you or piss you off and will purposely do them over and over again, even if you've asked them not to do it or like to meet you in the middle. But they just purposely keep doing these things that really annoy you, like your pet peeves, you know what I'm saying? To the point where you get so upset that you kind of are like, yo, stop. And then they want to point a finger and be like, oh, you're crazy, or you're just an angry person, or you're this and you're that. And it's like, babe, are you okay up there in the head? Because it seems like you're doing it on purpose just to piss me off. Like, what are we talking about here? But, anyways, going into our first comment, I stopped being the caretaker of my partner after the first time we missed a flight. Told him, nope, never again. Next two flights he missed, and man, did he bitch. Explained again that he's a damn adult and he has choices to make. Third time he missed a 10-day cruise, and he was never late again. He's pissed about it, but listens to me and gets up ready, out the door, and on time. Not the asshole. Now, missing the cruise, they don't refund the tickets. And they don't, that's it. You miss the cruise and you miss out on everything. Unless you have, like, I think the insurance or something. But even then, I think most cruises, if you don't get on that boat and you're not there on time, that's too bad, so sad, sucker, because they leaving your ass. They don't care. They are on a schedule. They are leaving when they are on their schedule. But I think actually now that I'm thinking about it, I think the insurance is more of like, let's say that you're flying there, you missed your flight, or like something like that, like some crazy crap happened, like somebody in your family passed and you have to, you know, cancel the ticket or something. If you have like the insurance or something that you pay on it, then you can get your refund, or they will make it to where you can like change your date or something. I don't know. But anyways, not the asshole. You need to make a line in the sand. Sit down and tell your wife that you love her and cherish her, but the way that she disrespects your desire to be punctual is just too much. Tell her that from now on, you're going to make separate arrangements while traveling. You're not responsible for waking her up. You're not responsible for getting her out the door. She is an adult and she can do what she wants. The first time she completely misses an event, I suspect things will change, but you've been accommodating to her to such a high degree that she can act like an infant. Now, yeah, because I mean, personally for me, like I am not a morning person, but I'm also not somebody that will purposely make everybody late just because I want to be lazy. Because to me, it's just a little lazy to, and you missed like how much money are you guys gonna spend on plane tickets? Like, come on now. Update. Wow. I know a lot of people say this, but I really didn't think it would get as big as it did. Thank you to everyone for the responses. I have been trying to read them in batches when I have time because I have been getting some good suggestions and want to answer a couple questions I saw as well as a bit of extra info. For those who are outside of the USA, PNW is the Pacific Northwest. As far as how she acts in other situations, she generally doesn't have any issues. She's never one to be late for work or anything like that, or just seems like travel is her port area. I never noticed things like this until we started traveling often to see our daughter. This is why I never considered ADHD. She really just shows no other signs of this. I saw a post implying that my wife might have an addiction of some sort. I'm not sure how that would line up, but I don't see that being a possibility. Nah. I don't know who said that, but that's not what this is. I didn't think that the following information was important, but my daughter made a comment and so did a friend that I discussed with this, so I thought maybe I would mention it here. Jess is not Meg's daughter. I was married before, and my wife unfortunately passed due to complications during Jess's birth. I remarried Meg when my daughter was 6. My daughter made a comment that Meg doesn't like to come and see or help her, and that's why she's always running late. But I have offered to go alone, and Meg always is very against the idea, so I wouldn't think that's the case. But I could see that being a possibility. I can't say that Meg and Jess have had the easiest relationship. Meg always wanted to have another child, but we were unable to conceive. She did make comments that she wanted children of her own that caused a little bit of a rift in our relationship at the time because I wanted her to see Jess as her daughter, but really they just had the typical mother-daughter relationship. It wasn't very much push that Jess It was always very much pushed that Jess was my daughter. Meg did make comments about being excited to have an empty nest, but I assumed it was because we would have more room. Um, there could be one of two things. It could either be that she's excited to have the empty nest because she feels bad about herself because she can't conceive. So having Jess there is a reminder of not being able to have a child of her own, or she should have never married a widowed man that had a child if she can't handle being a stepmother. That's also another possibility. Jess is a great kid and really never says anything bad about anyone, but she had made comments before that she thinks Meg is jealous of her. But this never made sense to me. But it makes sense to me because I'm a girl and yeah, women can be jealous. They sure can. It doesn't matter. There is some women that are jealous of, father-daughter relationships. I had no idea why that a grown woman would be jealous of a little girl, but that it does happen. She's also told me that she doesn't want Meg to come to her school for Parents' Weekend as she would rather just spend it with me or wait for Father's Weekend, but Meg always says that she wants to go and I've never gone without her. Which, I mean, yeah, because Meg is your wife and you wouldn't want to leave your wife behind, so that makes sense. That being said, I've never seen any negativity directed at Jess from Meg or resentment. Maybe I'm missing something. Final update. Hi everyone, thanks again for all the advice. I read as many of the comments as I could and took in all the information, so I want to provide an update. My wife finally started talking to me again, and when she did, I told her that I wanted to have a conversation about the situation, but I wanted to give it a couple of days for emotions to settle down. Some of the comments here gave me a great idea, and I wanted to see what she thought about it. For all future trips, I will have my tickets and she will have hers. I typically drive to the airport and leave my car in one of the pay lots, so I would drive myself and she could Uber. She will have all of the freedom to do what she wants when she wants, but it's up to her to arrive on time and board the plane. I let her know that it was starting to feel like I needed to keep track of both of us, and I phrased it in a way that didn't sound like I was being controlling over her and to just let her manage her own time. She wasn't happy with this, but she reluctantly agreed. Now to get to the bigger issue that I didn't realize we had until reading the comment of the post. Call me oblivious, but I never really thought there was an issue between Meg and Jess. After talking with my wife, she wouldn't admit to any issues and stated that she never intentionally delayed a flight so that she couldn't see our daughter and acted offended that I would even ask such a thing. If that was her actual purpose, I don't think I would be able to prove it, but it would be at the forefront of my mind in the future. After talking to Meg and Jess, we decided on the following. Meg and I will be visiting Jess on Parents' Weekend, but I will be attending the Father's Weekend from now on alone, and I will be attending by myself to get some alone time with Jess. Jess seems very excited, and surprisingly, Meg didn't seem to have an issue with that at the time. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to read and give me advice. I really appreciate and I hope that these steps can work towards a resolution for the issues. Now, honestly, this is the better side of Reddit because that is a very, very good solution to a problem that someone had and had some really great advice. And I think, yeah, like in the future, we don't know what might happen a couple of years from now, but if your daughter and Jess can't get along, I mean, at least she doesn't live in the house anymore. But at the same time, that's still kind of like her stepmom, and it can be really difficult with families. I think if anything happens in the future, family therapy would be the best to start with because this is a relationship that has been built for a very long time since, from 6 years old to 21 years old. And I think it would be best to seek family therapy before thinking about divorce or anything like that. That way, you guys can kind of come up with a solution together that doesn't take away all of the years that you just spent with this person, especially if you really do love them and care about them and want them to be your forever person. You don't want to miss out on opportunities that you could have had if you guys were able to work through it with a professional, which I think would be a really great idea. But I'm glad that the story ended on a good note. Now we're on to our next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for our friend's now broken iPhone and sunglasses that our son broke? I am 28 female and my husband is 32 male. Our son in question is 6 months old. Whenever someone holds him, we warn them that they will try to grab your glasses or phone and sometimes even your hair. And yes, my son used to pull the crap out of my hair. He did try my glasses once, but these glasses are expensive, so I was like, eh, and I wouldn't let him, but his dad never like did. So even to this day, he still rips his dad's glasses off, but he will not touch mine. He knows better. When we are trying to break this habit, but he's 6 months old. Yeah, I mean at 6 months, that's like a normal developmental thing that they're gonna do. Unfortunately, it's a baby. Now, I warned my husband that a friend of mine, 33 female, let's call her Jean, came to visit and wants to hold, which we don't mind. I warned her about it all, saying, best to take your sunglasses off your head because he will grab them. Now, these are Gucci sunglasses costing almost 800 pounds, which to me is a crazy amount for sunglasses, but to each their own. And I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but I'm going to assume it's probably maybe close to like somewhere between 600 to $1,000 sunglasses because I mean it is Gucci. But she rolled her eyes at me and accused me of hogging my own baby. I warned her again and she said it's fine. So she stood holding him, took her phone out wanting to take a selfie, which again I am fine with as long as it's not posted. I don't want a picture of him online yet, which is understandable. I I post my son sometimes, but if I post him on like the podcast Instagram, which a lot of people do look at, that's not like my personal stuff. I do kind of hide his face or I'll take a picture of like the back of his head or something because I think like he doesn't really understand what the internet is, and I think at some point if he wants to be on the internet, that would kind of be his choice and he would need to be old enough to comprehend and understand what it is and what he's being posted on. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, he of course grabbed her sunglasses, got excited as he got them, waved his hands about the sunglasses and they flew. She screamed, scaring him. He panicked and flailed, hitting her phone to the floor. I quickly took him as she was freaking out. She says I need to buy her a new iPhone 16 and replace her sunglasses or give me money for them, which is 2,300 euros. I said, we can't pay that as it's not even my monthly wage. Plus, I'm on maternity. But I also don't feel like I should, as you ignored my warnings. I'm called heartless for not being more understanding of her being upset. I was more concerned with calming down my son. My husband shrugged, telling her that I did warn her. I fixed the issues since. Oh, okay. So I guess she said I fixed the issues since they were so triggering to people. I'm assuming she probably misspelled some words. Also, to those who thought an adult didn't write this, adults can have dyslexia. And yes, I have dyslexia. That's why I read the way that I do. I was diagnosed as a kid. I'm not, I'm not too bad though. Now, the first comment here says if your child were 6 years old, I could see an argument for not having taught your child proper behavior. However, in this situation, the kid is only 6 months old. You provided adequate warning, so not the asshole. You owe her nothing. Personally, if it were me, you just can't trust everybody, and not everybody is smart. Some people are really dumb. I'm gonna say not the asshole, but maybe you could offer partial payment, but you're also on maternity leave and you're also going through like, you know what I'm saying? In Europe, do you guys get a year maternity leave? Like paid? I don't know. I've read that somewhere. But like, you know what I mean? Like she's an adult though. She should know better with a 6 month old. Okay. On to the next story. Am I the asshole for reporting my ex and her husband to the police for stealing my property? My ex-wife, 39 female, and I, 41 female, share custody of our three children, 16, 14, and 12, equally, and no child support is paid. Our marriage didn't end on the best of terms, and we communicate through an app only when we're required to for the sake of the kids. She has since remarried and has a 15-year-old stepchild and a 13-year-old stepchild. Her husband and I do not speak. We also had some issues with my ex keeping property that is mine if the kids have it on her time. It started with a cell phone. It started with a cell phone. I gave our eldest my old phone when one of his ex stepkids broke his phone. My ex then told our oldest that they were keeping it at her house and she refused to return it, even when I went over there and asked. I was told she had every right to confiscate it. I followed up with an email and she told me to get over it and she would not hand it over. Okay, so did like he get in trouble being on the phone for whatever reason? You guys have to co-parent. Already this is aggravating the hell out of me. Like I am aggravated. Now I barely even started reading this story. The next time our daughter, 14, brought some of my tools into school for her an assignment, but it was a custody exchange day, so she left my house but went home to her mom's. My ex believed it wasn't appropriate for her to have them, so she took them and refused to return them. Again, I got a written exchange as proof. Okay, well, you can't just hold people's stuff hostage. Personally, because your ex-wife seems really hostile, I would just tell your kids to leave stuff in their locker and then whenever they go to school and just bring it back or just not take anything to their moms because at this point I can't like but I mean they're old enough though. They're old enough to know what they should and shouldn't be like which parent is the, obvious not right in the head parent. The last time this was with our youngest, I let him use an old iPod for a class assignment on recent old tech gadgets. Apparently, her 13-year-old stepchild had the same assignment on a different day, and she decided that they both should get to use it. It's not up to her. Personally, it can be hard with stepchildren and like children themselves, but anyways, I told her it was my property and she had to return it, got another email exchange, and then contacted the police. I mean, at this point, like, she's stealing your stuff, man. My ex gave the stuff back, but she lost her mind over me getting the police involved for petty stuff, okay? And she wasn't being petty. She said I could have demanded it back after her stepkid used the iPod, and I told her she wasn't getting any of it back, and what I gave for my kid is not for the stepkids. She brought up how more serious trouble could come from it, and I told her that it would be deserved because you cannot steal someone's property. She told me it was just my spiteful side emerging because none of it was a big deal or I would have never given it to my kids, which I think is the dumbest argument. The phone was because her stepkids broke our eldest phone and she wasn't about to replace it. Our daughter needed tools for school and it was only for school when she needed to return them, but her mom said no, and then the iPod was just for the youngest for a school assignment. I'm not here to help her stepkids in any way. My ex and her husband have their mom if she's still in the picture, and she can do that. So, am I the asshole? First comment says, not the asshole. Next time she'll think twice about stealing your property. OP said, well, we can hope she does, but at least she's warned if she tries something like this again. Yeah, I mean, personally, if, like, yeah, this person here in another comment said if it wasn't a big deal, the cops wouldn't have agreed to intervene. She's teaching her kids that this type of behavior is okay. And honestly, you can't just take somebody's stuff. Like, I come from a divorced household, so I was with my dad every other weekend and I was with my mom majority of the time. My dad would never let me take any of the video games that were at his house to my mom's house because they were his house toys. You know what I'm saying? Like there were certain things that were for my dad's house only and then certain things that like I mean he didn't really care if I brought stuff from my mom's, but yeah, there was just like because it would end up never coming back to his house and my dad wanted stuff at his house for me to have to when I was there. So I mean I get it. So like I couldn't take clothes back and forth and stuff. It's a very complicated situation, but at this point if I was the kid and like the mom took my phone for something really dumb, after her stepkid broke my phone. Personally, I would leave the phone at school in a locker and just say, oh, well, dad told me that I have to leave it at his house because I'm not allowed to have it for whatever reason. Like, there's rules for the phone. And if the mom gets upset and she calls the dad, I'm pretty sure the dad will hear what the mom is saying and be like, oh, yeah, well, that's exactly what happened, because it seems like dad is more of the involved parent here, and mom is just trying to make it look like she's involved, but she's just kind of describing it. She doesn't sound like somebody I would want to be around. Just saying. I can understand why you divorced, bro. Am I the asshole for reminding my husband's father and stepmother that legally my husband isn't their son anymore? My husband lost his mom when he was 4.5. She was hit by a drunk driver and passed away instantly. At the time of her passing away, she was pregnant and my husband's sibling had passed away too. His dad remarried when he was 6, and a year later, my husband was legally adopted by the stepmother. This wasn't something they discussed with my husband or asked his feelings on. It was just something they did and had full support of the adult members in his dad's family who felt all children needed a mother and that he should be raised by her if something were to happen to his dad. There was bad tension between him, his mom, and his dad's family even before the two were married. He never knew why and still doesn't. His mom's family has no idea, and neither do the cousins on the dad's side. The adoption is something that my husband always resented, and he never bonded with his stepmother. He never called her mom or sought her comfort or love. He never loved her back either. As a kid, he was a runaway a couple of times. When he was on the cusp of turning 17, he left and moved in with a maternal uncle for a few months before moving to his grandparents' house. Once he was with them, he asked for an adult adoption, which they agreed to. His father and stepmother swore that they'd done nothing. His father and stepmother swore that they were done with him after this, but they always expected him to come crawling back and begging for them to forgive and to love him. But he never has. He has a very minimal contact with them and only does because he's close to a few cousins on that side. They weren't invited to our wedding and were never notified when we started having kids. Our kids don't even know who they are, and though they have seen them at a distance twice. We recently attended a birthday party for two of his cousins' children, and father and stepmother approached me and tried to get me on their side to make my husband talk to them, but I shut him down. They then told me that I was denying a relationship with their grandchildren and that my husband is their son and I should encourage the relationship between everybody. Personally, I think it's kind of not okay to get somebody's wife involved in the middle of a family thing that they were not personally involved with, just to kind of guilt trip them, or like, you know what I'm saying? I just think that's I feel like it's kind of rude. I've had it done to me before. Like, don't put me in the middle. I I'm gonna take the if I, was married, I would take my husband's side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna take your side. But anyway, I reminded him that legally he isn't their son, and I told my husband they wouldn't leave me alone. He tried harder to keep our distance because they were upset about the two and would not stop approaching me with their anger at my choice of words. So we told his cousin who was hosting that we were leaving, and the cousin then kicked them out too. It started a fight between the cousin on my husband's side and the rest of the family, and I was blamed. One of my husband's paternal aunts used a second Facebook account that she uses for her MLM crap, and she told them that I had no right to be so rude to my father-in-law and mother-in-law, and that it was insulting to rub his petty choice in their face. My husband blocked her second account and went back to it. Even the cousins were getting crap over what I said. So, am I the asshole for saying it to them? The first comment says, "Not the asshole. You're standing up for your husband's feelings and decisions, which is what a good spouse should do. Your legal ties don't change emotional reality." And OP replied and said, "I try, but I always have his back like he has mine." And like I said earlier, absolutely agree. Another comment says, "Curious how they are legally not his parents anymore." And OP said he was adopted by his grandparents at 18, so legally they are his parents now, not the father and stepmother. Yeah, I think that was explained. Not the asshole, incredibly presumptuous of them to think that you would side against your actual husband in solidarity with people you have no relationship with. And OP replied and said it was the first time I'd ever actually talked to them and there's no relationship between us. This made their attempt even more outrageous to me. So, I mean, yeah, and I think not the asshole. I don't think so. I think you stood up for your spouse, which is what a good spouse does, and unfortunately, it caused them to have a problem. But if anybody that like is coming to another spouse and they stick up for them, you should honestly have respect for that person and be like, you know what? Yeah, I can respect that and just walk away and move on because obviously your petty tactic didn't work. But for crazy people, that doesn't really work and they start crap with everybody. So there's also that. But that is the end of that. And that is going to be the end of our episode. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. And I also hope that you enjoy all the stories I'm going to read this week. And I am so excited for October because we are definitely going to dress up in cool costumes and cool makeup, and we're going to be reading spooky stories and all of that good stuff. So, if you guys want to go on the subreddit, please send me your true life ghost stories or spooky story, whatever spooky story that you have that's a true story. If it's an urban legend, if it's magic, whatever it is, if you guys have a true story of yours that you would like me to read for October, please submit it on our subreddit because that would be totally awesome. I have found a few places where I can get stories from that wouldn't be technically taking them from other creators if they haven't already read them, which I would hope not. But, what can you do? I have a few ghost stories of myself that I probably will write out and also read on here too. So, but all of October is literally going to be spooky, scary, skeleton, crazy, good stuff. So, yes. And that'll be all. So, I will see you guys next week. Bye.